What about you?
I got some pretty big news. EMC². Check this out.
Okay. The idea for Affliction came along when a lot of the artists that we were working with at the time, I noticed that a lot of the songs had a theme, and we kind of just went with the theme and was like, hey, let's just kind of come up with an idea based off of the theme that we were going off for the songs, and we came up with the word Affliction. We noticed that a lot of the words that were in the songs that we were working on, they all had that kind of idea of almost like a heartbreak.
The word affliction means being dealt pain, and so the track list within our EP, Affliction, actually describes the different stages of being dealt pain.
The first track on the EP, No Promises, featuring J.Lyn, which is one of my really good friends from school, signifies the stage before any of the pain ever really happens. So it's just kind of putting you in a place of just saying I don't really know how this is going to go, and I can't really promise you anything, but I do know that I like you a lot, and let's just see how this is going to go.
I was working as a peer mentor in 2015 at a program called the Melee program. So Ryan was trying to get started in the program, and I was his peer coach. And so I helped him out getting started in the Melee program, and then we formed a friendship through that. A few years later, he called me up and said, hey, what are you doing? Are you still making music? Let's collab.
And then we had, I think, maybe a 2-hour conversation all the way up until maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we were just laughing, catching up, and I was like, hey, what do you think about writing my songs? And she was like, yeah, of course.
This was the song that we worked on. And this was about a year ago. So it was a year-long process, but we wanted to make everything perfect. We wanted everything to sound right and everything to fit the emotion with the song.
So Oven and I used to work at the same restaurant. We were bartenders at the time.
But once I found out that Ryan actually started a music page and started to get more serious about music, that's when I contacted him and I was like, hey, let's collab on some stuff. And so at this point, I didn't really know anything about music production or mixing or mastering because I didn't go to school unlike Ryan did. He majored in audio engineering.
Getting to know him better, I found out that he would actually know stuff about music, and I was like, oh wow, this guy actually knows what he's doing with music. And come to find out too that we actually went to the same high school.
Ryan introduced me to j.lyn, our songwriter, and then j.lyn introduced us to Annie, and then that was us 4.
From then on, we just started working on projects. We come into the studio more often, and we just had this idea, kind of a collaborative idea, to just kind of put the songs that we're working together to make an EP at first.
And then more people came into the picture. Bigger ideas came, and we got more creative.
From me, I brought on Jarvis, who brought on Noel, and I knew Jade from the same restaurant.
One song turned into 3, turned into 7.
We're finally achieving, step by step, this whole big picture that we've been talking about for a while, and it's grown beyond my expectation. And so I want to thank Ryan and Evan so much.
There's a magnet.
So the second track on Affliction is titled Make Me Forget, and that has to do with the pain is already being dealt, and the individual is trying to forget. Ani Hyundai, or Anyone, is the singer on this track, and we actually met last year. I remember how we met because I really liked her jacket. It was super stylish. I've never seen it before.
And then we become really close friends, and then one day I just asked her, oh, I really want to work on a electronic music song, is that possible? And then he introduced me to Ryan and Evan.
Ryan called me up the next day because we were working on No Promises. And then I had this weird idea in my head. Hey Ryan, can you help me and Annie write a track?
I remember she listened to my demo. I wasn't expecting her to be honest. But then it turns out she actually loved it. j.lyn wrote a song for Annie, and then she hit me up and he's like, hey, can you produce this song with us? And because I was already working with Evan at the time, I was like, hey, why don't we just work on it together?
I actually sent this out to a ton of electronic producers. A lot of them didn't write back to me, or they said they would work on it, and then nothing ever happened. So basically, Make Me Forget got shelved for 4 years.
I fell in love with electronic music when I was in high school. So after I met j.lyn, and then we start working on some projects together.
I know that she can produce this emotion really well, and I thought that she would be my muse for Make Me Forget, and so I gave that song to her.
That shows a part of me, and which I think my fans, they never see it. So especially the song style, it's like house music, which I've never done in my life.
We were planning to release Make Me Forget in China and the US, so we needed to find a genre that would be accepted in both countries. Anyone really likes the genre of pop house, so she really wanted to make Me Forget a pop house track. But because Make Me Forget is a little bit more on the somber side, a little bit more dark, there are little variations from the typical pop house genre that you normally hear.
So this is my first time to work with EMC², and I think Ryan and Evan, they're so nice, and they work so hard. And j.lyn, she's always the most talented songwriter, and which is my best partner too. I feel so lucky and I feel so happy to work with them, and I really hope that we can have more projects to work on in the future.
Angel is the third track on the EP, which I feel personally that this is one of the songs that a lot of the people who are listening to will really relate to, and if you're having a hard time in a relationship. Reason being is because it signifies the bargaining stage in the stages of grief, where you're really trying your best to make things work and you want things to go back to the way that they used to be, but you know that they won't, so you try to bargain your way around it.
So it's actually a really interesting story. So Ryan and I actually met at the same restaurant. This track, Angel, actually features Jade, who is another person that I've also met at the exact same restaurant. Once I found out that she made music, I was like, hey Jade, let's make a track.
I originally wrote Angel a few years back, and it recently got revised by a few of my teammates and I. And I really am excited about this EDM version that is coming out because it shows a different side of the story in a way of just having a different energy to the whole entire story itself. It's mostly about the feeling of feeling like you're being overshadowed. Not in a harmful way, but in a way where you just see someone in front of you that's so perfect and you feel like you can't compare sometimes. And these self-fueled insecurities of me talking to myself in my head about this old relationship and feelings arising again in that time that I wrote it.
She was just, I fell in love with her voice so much. I heard her sing and I was like, I have to work with her. I told Evan, I have to work with this girl. She's super talented still too, so I was like, wow, like, I'm just working with all these talented people, and I just felt so like privileged to work with people who are just so down for the same dream that I'm going for.
Everyone in this world has insecurities, and everyone doubts themselves at times and may feel like they don't deserve someone. But in the end, it's important to understand that what has happened, and to just accept it. I really hope that you guys enjoy the song Angel. I poured my heart into this song, and we worked endlessly and tirelessly for days on this track.
Pow and Cyclone are both very aggressive sounding tracks, and they're supposed to represent the anger phase within the stages of grief. Pow was inspired by the Hawaiian word that means to finish, and that's basically what Pow and Cyclone both do, is that they finish the album. Pow started off as an experiment originally with a new chord progression that I learned, and I really personally like the Arabic scale, so I wanted to use the Arabic scale, and I thought that it added a lot of intensity to the track. And so the project kind of molded itself into what it is today.
The biggest inspiration that I got from Cyclone is the whirlwind of emotions that you get when you're going through something like a breakup or any type of traumatic event that causes you to have a lot of grief. I really wanted to play with time in the songs. You can't really notice it too much, but it's going from one BPM to another BPM in the transition phases. I just kind of wanted to mimic that feeling of when you got things going on that's going pretty crazy, it kind of just moves along with the track.
So the last track on the Affliction EP is titled Lifeline, and it represents the acceptance stage of grief, more hopeful, more uplifting, and it comes at the end because it's a little bit more joyful, and it is a love story. So this track I worked on with another producer named Matien, who I met in a Zippy's parking lot at 3 a.m. in the morning one time, and another good friend of mine, Noel Akbar, who I actually went to high school with.
I think the story behind me working with EMC² kind of goes back to when I first met Evan. When we met, he would just listen to different songs and whatnot, and he'd just be calling out keys and chords, and I'm like, hello? Like, how do you do that? So I asked if he did music production, and he said no.
So he got me into FL Studios from there, and I learned a bunch from him on FL Studios.
So from there, he got into music production. He met Ryan. One day, I got a message saying, hey, do you want to work on Affliction with us? And I was like, I mean, yes, I do.
So the collaboration process started when Noel sent us a demo with him singing over a guitar.
It was just sitting in my messages for like a month or two because I didn't know how to start it yet. But one day I got bored, opened it up, I tried to lay down some chords and whatnot, and from there I just built off the chords, and then from going back and forth with Evan and Noel, we started building the song piece by piece.
Just like with this whole quarantine situation going on, I've been stuck at home and I've been feeling the need to kind of express myself and how my life has been kind of going lately. One of the biggest influences in my life right now is my girlfriend, someone who I spend a lot of time with. The song kind of, it resonates our relationship as a whole. It's this feeling of being immensely powerful with this person that you love, but this person also making you feel like they have a power over you too. And it's not necessarily a bad power, but it's something that you guys kind of depend on each other for.
Noel and I met, I think, around 2 or 3 years ago. I was just going out with friends to a karaoke room, and there sat this random dude that I've never met before.
As we moved forward towards the years and he started working on music, we kind of all fell into this like world of EDM and going to events together, where I met Evan once again, and I had known Evan for years. So it was just kind of like a nice like reconnection of friendship, which is one of the reasons why I feel like EDM is such a big thing, right? Having that connection again and then finding like-minded people to have like a desire to do music and produce something really nice was a great thing for me, and I wanted to jump into it right away. And with them introducing me to Ryan and the rest of the gang, like it just took off, and it was kind of life-changing in my mind, you know? It really woke me up to the possibilities that we had working together.
And then you put food in it, like wow. And that's how you feed the birds. And then eventually 9 months later, the birds will poop out an egg. A bee.
Working on the Affliction EP with all these talented individuals has just been one of the most rewarding, stressful, and fun experiences that I'm pretty sure everybody, if you ask them, they're going to say the same thing. It's just been such an honor working with everybody.
Music has been one of the things that everybody on this album actually all wanted to do forever, but we really never had a chance to do it because of life, you know, bills and work. But this EP that we created with all of our friends and all these artists abroad and home literally brought us all together. With the Affliction album, it symbolizes everybody's love of music, everybody's love to be creative, and everybody's love to tell a story. And it also symbolizes that even through hard times, that the sun will always rise at the end of the day.
So this is our first release as EMC², and I really hope that you guys enjoy the album, and that this album isn't only going to be the first one, but we have many more works to come, and you guys just stay tuned for what we have left.
That's the whole story of Affliction, is that you will deal with pain, you will deal with anguish, but at the end, there's always hope.
That was deep. That was deep. That was deep. That one got me deep. I was like, deep, 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 deep.